Well, there is a new admission about Obamacare to tell you about from the #2 guy at the White House. Good morning to you. I'm John Scott.
Great to see everybody. I'm Jenna Lee, and with a little more than a month to go before open enrollment ends, the vice president now says health care signups may fall short of the White House's unofficial goal.
I think that although, initially we talked about by the end of this period having 7 million people lined up, we may not get to 7, but we're going to get to 5 or 6, and that's a hell of a start for people. And there's a drop-dead date for the first round in the beginning of March, but there's a lot going on, and so I mainly came to say thanks. Thanks for negotiating this. Thanks for helping people negotiate it, and I just see this getting better and better and better for people.
Our chief national correspondent Jim Engel is live in Washington on this story today. Jim?
Well, hello, Jenna. Aside from the confident claims that we get from other officials about how many people are signing up for Obamacare and will sign up before the March deadline, listen closely as Vice President Joe Biden suggested the totals might be lower during that stop in Minneapolis. Listen.
Initially, we talked about by the end of this period having 7 million people lined up. We may not get to 7, but we're going to get to 5 or 6, and that's a hell of a start for people.
Now, though the Congressional Budget Office had recently lowered its projections for the total number signing up for state and federal exchanges from 7 to 6 million, the vice president is the first to mention a number as low as 5 million, suggesting a growing fear the numbers are softer than claimed. In its latest report of signups through the end of January, the administration said it had 9.6 million total, 3.3 million in the federal and state exchanges, another 6.3 million in Medicaid, health care for the poor. But a nonpartisan healthcare consulting firm says the number of new signups in Medicaid, the only ones made possible by Obamacare, which encouraged the states to expand the program, is much lower than 6.3 million.
It's about 1.3 to 1.8 million people who are new to the program. The rest are part of the regular churn that are in and out.
And the rest don't count because they were already eligible before the health care law. For those new to the program, under the expansion encouraged by Obamacare, the administration will pay 100% of the cost for the first 3 years, but it pays no additional funds for those already eligible, which is often one of the top 3 expenditures for state budgets. Now, if the VP is right, Jenna, and the administration only signs up 5 million in private exchanges, and Avalier's analysis that less than 2 million newly eligible have signed up for Medicaid so far, then the administration will be lucky to hit half the original projection of 16 million by next month. Jenna?
Jim Engel live in Washington. Jim, thank you.
You bet.
For more on this now, we're joined by Nina Easton, senior editor and Washington columnist at Fortune magazine and a Fox News contributor. Also with us, Jamie Weinstein, senior editor of the Daily Caller. Nobody says it better than Joe Biden, Nina. We didn't want this to start off as shaky as it did, he said, but it's complicated. I mean, winning World War II was complicated, and it took less time for the United States to win World War II than it did for them to build a working website.
Yeah, well, John, also, it's complicated. That's such an understatement of re-engineering 1/6 of the economy. Yeah, it's complicated. And you look at the size of this legislation, thousands of pages, and you look at the number of regulations. Yeah, it's complicated, and it's led to a lot of fallout that's hurt people, like their policies being canceled, like losing doctors and coverage that they enjoyed before. So those complications have actually come back to haunt a lot of people who already had health care that they liked.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we're seeing the buyer's remorse that we've seen reflected, Jamie, in some of the polls recently.
Yeah, there's no question, I think, that no matter what happens with Obamacare over the next year or so, this beginning stages has been a complete failure, both in the terms of implementation, which was a disaster at the beginning, but also now as we've moved on, we're seeing people, losing their health care plans that they thought they could keep. We don't even know how many people who signed up for Obamacare are actually were uninsured before. There's an estimate from McKinsey & Company, which is a very highly respected firm, that it only is 11% who are newly insured. Everyone else had lost their plans before and signed up through Obamacare. So I don't think any way you slice it, this has not been a good way for the law to start. And we'll see how that goes down the road. It's unclear if there will be a death spiral or not, and this law will collapse under its own weight. The administration has many tools to prevent that, but right now it's just not been a very good implementation or even execution for the administration.
And Nina, the lack of confidence that this engenders in so many people. I was talking with a friend of mine who, has a job that provides health benefits, is thinking about leaving for another job that doesn't provide health benefits, but doesn't really know whether Obamacare even works, whether it is available or not.
Yeah, and that's the irony of this, John, is that Obamacare was actually meant to provide security. It was actually meant to be portable insurance for people so that you don't have to worry about staying with a company. You don't have to worry about working for health insurance benefits, as the White House keeps pointing out. That was the point of it, was to give people that sense of security and not link it to just having that job that has the benefits. But yeah, if people are insecure about whether the website works, whether their information, by the way, is secure. We keep in mind we've had cyber experts testify that your personal information is not secure and that hackers could get in and steal your personal information.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fear, I think, about signing up, in addition to the other problems.
Jamie, the last Democratic president, Bill Clinton, said the era of big government is over, and here we have this new Democratic president who has, brought to bear probably the biggest big government program we've seen since maybe the establishment of Social Security. The fact is, it's not working yet. What is that supposed to do for the future of big government?
Well, it certainly, put some holes in the confidence that big government can do a lot of these things. I mean, this was even a few months ago, I remember on The Daily Show, they had Kathleen Sebelius on, and Jon Stewart made this point that, he's a big government guy, and he said, this breaks down the confidence the American people have that the government can do these big programs. And that may be something that we see this November, as Obamacare, I think, is going to be a major issue because it cuts across partisan lines. If you lose your health insurance, or you can't get your doctor, or you felt that you were lied by the president, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, that's going to affect you. And even if you were a dyed and true Democrat, you might think twice about voting for the party that misled you and proved to you that they can't put in this program that they based their whole 2008 campaign on.
Right.
So this could have serious consequences this November and beyond.
It passed without a single Republican vote. Jamie Weinstein, Nina Easton. We'll be talking about the electoral prospects coming up in November a bit later on with Angela McGlowan. Thank you both.